We got a weird week coming up, but we're a bunch of weird guys, right? Okay? All right, let's get a break. Let's go with Mike Glennon tonight, man. Let's go with Mike Glennon. Hey, this guy. Hey, Mike Glennon.
Hey, Raiders on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Mike Glennon, he got some neck, man. We got some neck.
Yes, he does. That's John Gruden talking about backup quarterback Mike Glennon and his much-discussed neck. Glennon made some big plays in the Raiders' second preseason game. Comedian Frank Caliendo stopped by. Calf sizes were compared. And we took a lovely boat ride with Canadian-born tight end Luke Wilson and his father. It was a very fun third episode of Hard Knocks. But that doesn't mean the week was without its drama. I am your host, Peter Schrager, and damn it, I'm going to say it again. Knock on wood if you're with me. It's the 14th season of the reality sports documentary series from NFL Films and HBO Sports, and already it's the show's most captivating campaign yet. More Antonio Brown all-access moments, which at times was awesome, and at others, just confusing. This week on the podcast, we'll get some inside scoops on the Raiders' handling of the situation when I'm joined by Rich Eisen, the face of the NFL Network, and the host of The Rich Eisen Show. Rich works side by side with Raiders general manager Mike Mayock for more than a decade at NFL Network. He's got a thing or two to share about Oakland's first-year executive who dished out the stern warning heard around the world to Antonio Brown last Sunday night. And of course, like every week, I've got my MVP and what to watch for in next week's episode. But before we get to Rich and all of that, let's set the scene for you on this Antonio Brown stuff. Like every other week of Hard Knocks this season, John Gruden came out of the gates and expressed his support for his guy, Antonio Brown.
We've known the whole time. He had frostbite. He took 4 or 5 days to get it checked out. And we knew about the grievance since the first day of OTAs, which we did. You know, I don't know what the story is, the fucking story is around here.
Trying to find him a comment from the last 10 years, the same model.
Tried everything, really. I give the guy credit for standing up for what he believes in. Everybody else does it in this country.
So there's Gruden supporting his guy, and with some cool music and really cool hot air balloon imagery, Raiders general manager Mike Mayock notifies starting quarterback Derek Carr that, in fact, his boy is back in Napa, and sure enough, there Antonio Brown is coming out of the car at Raiders camp, all smiles, being flanked by his agent Drew Rosenhaus and friends and cameras, and oh my.
Where's Antonio Brown? Is he here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Where is he?
Antonio Brown's back. All right.
That's in front of the team, but perhaps the more important conversation was the one Gruden had with Antonio Brown's agent, Drew Rosenhaus.
By the way, I think we got the helmet figured out. What we came up with is a little bit of a loophole. We found that if we can find one that was made within the last 10 years, they didn't ban it.
Yeah.
So I think we can make that work for us.
It's changing, man. I mean,
it's hard. 9 years and you kick ass and you don't have any injuries. I'm not saying that we handled it the right way, but he'll kick ass for you. He's going to help you win a lot of football games.
Yes, he will.
All right, so let's back up. What are they talking about there? First, that's Drew Rosenhaus's voice. He's one of the most respected agents in the NFL and a guy who's got as star-studded a client list as any. And what he and his client, Antonio Brown, discovered through this helmet battle with the league is that the reason the helmet that Brown has worn his entire career is no longer acceptable by the league's new safety standards is because it is older than 10 years old. The manufacturer stopped making the model Brown rocked for all those seasons in Pittsburgh, something called the Air Assault 2. That's the model. So the loophole that Drew Rosenhaus discovers is that though that particular helmet was older than 10 years old and is no longer made, there are some Air Assault 2s that are out there in the world that have been made since 2009, less than 10 years ago. And because these helmets, which are floating around the world somewhere, are less than 10 years old and they weren't specifically prohibited by the NFL, Rosenhaus and Brown thought if they can get their hands on a few of them, get those tested, and maybe then approved by NOXI, the governing body, all would be okay. That, yes, Antonio Brown, you can't wear the exact same helmet, but here's one that's been made in the last 10 years. Let's get it tested. It's given the okay, and you can wear it.
Working with the NFL, getting the right equipment. I've been working hard on the side. I've been going taking care of the feet. So, man, I want to give it to my teammates, so hopefully soon get out there and get to work. You know, too much noise right now. More work, less noise. Felt like I was enemy of the fucking state. Fuck.
The enemy of the bleeping state. Brown delivers this monologue, and then we see him discussing the analytics of Antonio Brown with a man named Jamie Hepner. Here they are talking about, well, how good Antonio Brown is.
AB caught the most touchdowns last year, and coincidentally against the guys we compared against, he ran the most yards quickly. So over 12 miles an hour compared to these guys, right? He ran further on average in his hardest game and total.
See, men lie, women lie, but the analytics don't. You know, a lot of people tell stories. Men lie, women lie, right? But the analytics don't. Numbers don't lie, man. Numbers don't lie. It's the factuals.
Words of wisdom from Antonio Brown. Who's the other guy? Who's Hepner? He's an applied sports scientist at a company called Catapult Sports. I went on the website LinkedIn to find him, and there he was, because I'd never heard his name before. But he's part of a new wave of football information. He's more than merely numbers, though. These guys and gals, they're called sports scientists, and they look at everything from sleep habits to eating regimens to work usage at practice. Hepner may be telling Brown what he likes hearing, that he's really, 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 really good, but he's right. Because remember, men lie, women lie, but analytics, they do not lie. That is some line from Brown. So all seemed to be going well in Raiders land, and then we get to preseason action, week 2 against the Arizona Cardinals, and there's Antonio Brown cheering on the team, and he's in high spirits, and though he doesn't play in the game, and we don't know if it's because of the helmet, or because they're resting his foot, or they're just keeping him on ice because they're waiting for the regular season, whatever the reason, we see Antonio Brown, and he's in a Raiders uniform, and he looks great, and he's happy. But then, towards the end of the episode, Antonio Brown is no longer at Raiders camp. He's missing, and we learn that he's upset again about the helmet issue. The loophole, apparently, did not work. And finally, someone from the Raiders organization draws a line in the sand and addresses it publicly. That man was not Coach John Gruden, but rather first-year general manager Mike Mayock.
You all know that AB is not here today, right? So here's the bottom line. He's upset about the helmet issue. We have supported that. We appreciate that. Okay, but at this point, we've pretty much exhausted all avenues of relief. So from our perspective, it's time for him to be all in or all out.
And up until now, we hadn't heard much from Mike Mayock, so to hear him suddenly come out so strong on the issue left us with some things to consider. To talk more about it, I called up a guy whose name is synonymous with the NFL, Mayock's former colleague, Rich Eisen.
My 11-year-old strolled into the room last night right in the middle of Antonio Brown's F-bomb tirade, and I paused it. And he goes, "What are you watching?" I said, "Hard Knocks." And I'm like, "There's a lot of not safe for your ears words." Yeah. And he goes, "A lot of F-bombs?" I'm like, "Yeah, a lot of football."
Rich is the face of the NFL's media arm. He's been with the NFL Network since its inception in 2003 and is the host of its entertaining Sunday morning pregame show, NFL Game Day. He's also the MC of the annual Pro Football Hall of Fame Friday Night Dinner. He introduces the newly inducted class of Hall of Famers at the Honors Award Show each January, and he anchors both the NFL Draft and the league's NFL Draft Scouting Combine for the NFL Network. He also worked with Mike Mayock on draft coverage for more than a decade. You see, Eisen and Mayock are pals, and for years they were the ideal 1-2 combo of NFL draft coverage on TV. But Mayock, a long-respected evaluator of NFL talent, left all that behind to finally pursue his dream of being an NFL GM this past January. I find Mike Mayock's relationship to NFL film so fascinating and so full circle now that he's doing Hard Knocks. Can you just give a little bit more light on what Mike Mayock was doing 25 years ago and kind of take him through the broadcasting process?
He would tell me this story on occasion. I mean, Mike didn't like to wax rhapsodic very much, but he's got a big heart, and he's got a big soft spot and big heart for NFL films and Steve Sabol. Because here's a guy, who loves ball. I mean, he's been around it. He's a son of a coach and picked like 200-something or other by the Steelers, actually. and winds up with the Giants, played special teams, and just couldn't stick in the NFL. And then, like many guys who couldn't stick in the NFL, had to find something else to do with their lives. And he landed on commercial real estate, but just realized he wanted to get back into football. So he knocked on the door of Steve Sable and asked for advice, and Sable basically gave him some advice and then also gave him an opportunity at NFL Films to look at film and stuff like that. And off Mayock went and eventually got on the NFL Network. So that's Mike's history. So I knew that when Hard Knocks came knocking on his door or knocking on the Raiders' door, that at the very least he would know most of the people that come in with their cameras and respect what they had to do and knew exactly what they were looking for, which is why you don't see very much of him on Hard Knocks, at all.
Perhaps no one in our sports media world knows Mike Mayock as well as you. How would you describe Mike's approach to football and team building as a whole?
Well, I think you're seeing it. You're also just seeing guys who are clear-eyed and full-hearted, to use the Friday Night Lights phrase, and you're seeing what he would call high-character guys. You're seeing guys who are just football junkies, which he is too. This kid, Abram, I mean, I think you're seeing it right now. Like, that's a Mayock guy. Farrell's a Mayock guy. Renfro's a Mayock guy. And also, guys who are going to get second chances who are fighting hard and deserve the second chance despite what their first chance and how it was squandered. I was totally unaware of the Darren Waller story until last night.
I had no idea either.
I was blown away by that. And again, that's a Mayock guy too. And also, the thing that's leaving a lot of people who've known Mike a little bit scratching our heads is seeing Incognito on this team, Fonte's Perfect on this team, who are guys that, we would never, having worked with Mike for as long as we have worked with him and heard him talk about high-character guys. But you're seeing what Mike wants to build. Guys who love football, breathe it, eat it, chew it up, spit it out. That's what you're seeing about Mayock here.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the football guys. Renfro, they seem to love him. Cleve Farrell. These are all guys who were captains in college and all that stuff. And then knowing Mayock the way you do, what were you thinking? You as Rich Eisen, his former colleague, as you see all this Antonio Brown stuff play out and Drew Rosenhaus on site at practice strolling with an entourage and then Antonio Brown going, hey, what were you thinking when all of this was happening before Mayock made his big Sunday night proclamation?
Oh, well, I mean, Mike is being a general manager, and he knows the way the game is played. I mean, he understands that there are going to be people with agendas and agents and folks that he needs to deal with, and I'm sure he acquired Antonio Brown with eyes open, but not foreseeing whatever the heck happened with the helmet.
Do you think now, as he's going through this Antonio Brown stuff and he's doing all this with the Raiders and he's probably pursuing the dream of his lifetime to be a general manager in the NFL, do you think he's having a better time doing this, or do you think, knowing Mike Mayock, he'd rather be in Provo, Utah, watching some defensive tackle who's 19 years old, training, trying to get ready for the NFL draft?
He's in his element. I mean, he's the ultimate pig, and you know what? I mean, that's what I thought. I thought he's probably walking around that stadium, the field that he, the field that he's been on many times before,
as an announcer, sure.
Yeah, as an announcer, that he is now the general manager of the Oakland freaking Raiders and had a large role in putting a lot of those players in those uniforms on that field. And he was going to go and watch the guys that he picked out go out and ball out and try and win a job. And I think this is it, man. This is what he wants. And I couldn't have been happier. I literally saw that in his face. As he was walking around.
I got goosebumps you just saying that. Just thinking about friends in life and pursuing things.
He picked a lot of these kids. He's picked a lot of these, or he's an integral role in picking a lot of these free agents, guys who were trying to get gigs, and he's actually now going to sit and watch them develop, and he's actually going to put it all on the line and hope to win a Super Bowl. And damn straight, this is what he wants to do. I really believe it.
It's so cool. You've got a cool project coming with NFL Films this season in honor of the league's 100th year. The NFL 100 thing is such a big initiative for the league. and you've got a really cool deal. Can you explain to the listeners where they can find you and what this project is?
Well, I wish I could tell them the when. I'm still wondering when. I think it's going to happen late in the season, but it's 6 episodes of a show called the NFL 100 All-Time Team. And it's 100 players, 10 coaches that were selected by the proverbial blue ribbon panel of experts, and it's the all-time team in honor of the 100th season of professional football. Mike Muriano, who is our fearless leader on the production side at the NFL Network, who I've worked with since day one at the NFL Network, came up to me and he told me about this show. And, you know, you'd be hosting the show, and the analyst that we think we're going to get is Bill Belichick. And I'm like, what? I'm like, that? Like, what? Really? And sure enough, Bill did it, and they wound up also having Chris Collinsworth on board.
Amazing.
So I'm hosting, and those are your 2 analysts.
Belichick, the TV analyst, how was he?
Amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, he is the perfect analyst for this, Peter, because, and I know what I'm saying when I say this, his passion came through. And I'll just tell you one other story that I think I've told before. So the plan was, let's just let all the conversations go as long as possible. We do have in-studio guests who are going to be members of the team, who are told they're on the team when
Sure.
they sit down and they have an inkling. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
That they were schlepped to NFL.
We're not flying you to Mount Laurel, New Jersey for nothing. Yes,
you're right. So some of the conversations were just absolutely amazing, and the concept was just let it go as long as it needs to go. But that would mean that somebody who's going to be one of the last guests to be brought on would be waiting to be brought on. So we're talking, and and one of the rare times that someone from films got in my ear and say, "Look, so and so is waiting, and we got to bring him out. So when you can get out of this conversation, let's go." But the conversation was with a player on the set with whom Belichick has a lush history, and the 2 of them were talking, and it was amazing. And I'm thinking to myself, I cannot believe I am in a situation in my professional broadcasting career where I have to go to commercial break, but can't because Bill Belichick won't stop talking.
It's so good. It's so good. Rich, this is tremendous. Love seeing your friend Mayock succeed at this level and go on this journey, and it means so much to us on the podcast to have you on as a guest.
Anytime, brother.
So if Bill Belichick is an expert on the NFL's first 100 years, as Rich so eloquently explained, there's got to be a next wave of NFL superstars coming. Maybe one of them is Raiders rookie wide receiver Hunter Renfro.
We have decided to get bigger, faster, better conditioned athletes. Say it with me, man. Bigger, faster, better conditioned athletes. So we have Hunter Renfro.
They're laughing at a shirtless picture of Renfro, and maybe he doesn't look like your typical NFL wide receiver. He's 5'10", he's 185 pounds, and even his teammates are questioning his age.
How old are you? I'm 23. There's no chance you're 23. 23. Not good. You're at least 37. That old. 37. You'll play for like another 3 years. And retire. 40.
And then we get an amazing montage of Renfro highlights. Guys, Hunter Renfro is a legend among college football fans. In the biggest games, in the biggest of moments, it was Renfro making the biggest plays for 2 different national championship squads at Clemson. He was what's known as a college walk-on, and before his freshman year was even over, he was a starting wide receiver on one of the best teams in the country. Before the NFL draft, Clemson head coach Dabo Swinney said of Renfro, "I wish I could have him for 5 more years. He's special. He's such a great teammate and leader. He's just a worker, and to me, he's the epitome of what makes this game great. When he puts that helmet on, he's Superman." In April, the Raiders traded up in the draft to select him in the 5th round. Hunter Renfro does not look like your typical NFL wide receiver, and he may look 37 years old, as Derek Carr was joking, but he's exactly the type of guy with the type of rags to riches story that Gruden and Mayock are looking to build their team around. Hard Knocks has a long storied history of highlighting these types of guys. Whether it was Danny Amendola with the Dallas Cowboys in training camp, or Charles James with the Houston Texans a few years back, the undersized and perhaps overlooked player is a Hard Knocks staple. Renfro's been a source of comic relief on the show, but don't laugh too hard, because this dude's all business on the football field. Every week on the Hard Knocks podcast, I pick an MVP of the episode. And this week, it's a trio of players, co-MVPs, if you will. If you ever wondered about the hard-hitting, next-level discussions that players have on the sidelines during a game, rookie Jonathan Abram and linebackers Tahir Whitehead and Vontaze Burfict gave us the details on a very important football topic: chewing gum, and the dangers of swallowing it. They're doing all this while a football game is going on right in front of them.
I get cotton mouth when I have my mouth busy. So
yeah,
that's why I chew gum.
I got the gum. I had that gum was tasting too good, though. I started swallowing it. Then I ain't have no gum.
You don't swallow no damn gum.
Man, I swallow all my gum. I swallow all my gum.
And I can only have it in my mouth for like 2 minutes.
That shit like rubber.
You shit it out.
No, that shit terrible.
You ever shit and it like hurt?
You gonna be fucking constipated.
That's why you gonna get you an enema.
Hell no.
An enema.
I don't know what that shit is.
When they take the old folk and put it.
I don't know if you say it right. You say salmon, so I can't trust you.
Jonathan Abram may never live down that salmon conversation from the first week of the show that might follow him his entire career. In addition to an MVP, or in this case, our MVPs, each episode I wrap the show by giving you something I'm fascinated by and think is worth tracking over the next week. And in this week's case, it's how this Oakland Raiders team will handle a big international road trip. Yes, they are headed to Canada, Winnipeg to be exact, to play the Packers in a preseason game. And as much as I am curious about the action on the field, I want to see all of the conversations off of it as well. Does getting out of that Northern California bubble bond this team together even more? Or do we see some cracks in the chemistry? Yes, they've had one road trip to Phoenix already, but the Raiders, and really the NFL, are not familiar with the city of Winnipeg, because this isn't a normal trip. The Raiders are coming to Canada, and I want to see how the 2019 Hard Knocks team handles this international journey. Big personalities like Jonathan Abram and Richie Incognito are hitting Manitoba. Are the Raiders fans in Canada excited? Are there Raiders fans in Canada? What is the energy going to be like on the field, in the stands, and in the streets? Hey, is Antonio Brown even coming with them? I love all this stuff, and I love the international flavor that we'll be getting next week on Hard Knocks. And that's it for this week's episode of the Hard Knocks podcast. This show was produced by HBO Sports, NFL Films, and Pineapple Street Media. Also, check out the Hard Knocks Instagram page at Hard Knocks HBO. There's amazing stuff on there, including Hard Knocks Now, which shares daily updates from Raiders training camp. You can check out even more Hard Knocks content with Dan Hansis' Hard Knocks recaps on NFL.com and the podcast Harder Knocks, Training Camp with Hard Knocks, Training Camp with the Oakland Raiders. I love that title and I love those guys. I was on their podcast this week. Also, we want to hear from you, the listeners. So tweet me at pschrags. That's PSCHRAGS. I'm your host, Peter Schrager. Make sure to watch episode 4 of Hard Knocks on HBO next Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern. You can find the Hard Knocks podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to rate, review, and to subscribe. We'll be back with a new episode next week. Thanks for listening, everyone.